Hi, I'm Alexander Ray Pimentel, CEO and founder of Future Film Production,
I'm Jacob Leadley. I'm the director of photography on the project.
and we're currently making the film Duffle Bag Boy. So I had originally thought of this film a long time ago, probably around the age of, I would say, like 19. I'm 32 now, so it's been a project that I've had in mind for a long time. It was originally titled Bad Business,
Hmm.
and in the end, I think that it really strives from a lot of um, the gangster picture genre. So gangster films as a whole, from history, all the way from the beginning. I like a lot of the gangster films from the 20s, crime films from the 20s about prohibition, all the way up to modern gangster films from Coppola and Scorsese and from Goodfellas. That was, that's a film that really impacted me. I used to sit down with my grandfather and watch The Godfather.
Hmm.
So yeah, gangster film genre movies have had a big impact on me. So I always thought maybe I can attempt one and make a film like that, similar to it.
Okay, yeah. So that was really more of an inspiration kind of subset for you that led up into this. You said you've been thinking about this film for a long time. How has that, I guess, how did you know that this was the right time to make this film versus the time frame between your other films?
Wow. Yeah, I'd written it originally as like a 45-minute movie, and we had went down to Syracuse University. And there's like a town center there with like bars and restaurants, and we had locked in some locations for the original film, and that was around uh, the time where I had only done short films up to about like 5 minutes. So I think it was a big undertaking at the time that looking back, I don't think I was necessarily prepared for as a filmmaker. And then I went back and as a thesis project in college, I had picked it up again and rewrote it. And it went from a completely different style movie that was going to be up in Syracuse to a movie that we kind of created an environment around Los Angeles. And it was rewritten, and there was new aspects involved. And I think honestly, maybe the screenplay, or yeah, the screenplay at the time had shortened. And then it came down to, what am I going to do if I am going to make a movie? And something gravitated me towards reading through that script, through all the versions really. When I first sat down, I read through the very first one that I had written when I was younger, all the way to different variations of it. And honestly, I took out what was core. Um, like for example, Bruce going against Maurice, the hero versus the villain, had always been an aspect of the movie from the very beginning, from Bad Business. There was always it was always a 1v1 is how I look at it. And then even when it evolved into like that middle ground, where a couple years later, where I thought I was going to make the film, it was still a 1v1. So I took that out of the movie. I kept Bruce as the main character. He was always a veteran who got out of the service and kind of goes down this life of crime. And all throughout the film, he really can't find a place that he belongs. He can't find a destination, is what I really come to write down on the paper. So then when you look at the film, we open up in the modern day on a gas station. You don't ever stay at a gas station. You don't live there. You don't stay there. You don't spend a week there. You're there, and it's for traveling.
A transient kind of location. Sure.
Right. Then you go back to the hotel. It's a similar aspect. You go to the campsites or any of the picnic grounds. All these areas are even in the environment around that original theme of he's struggling to find a place to belong or a destination to be at.
So, do you believe that Duffel Bag Boy, in a way, is a takeaway from your life experiences? Did you find yourself writing things that you did throughout your life into Bruce as a character?
Well, not in a generic standpoint, but certain writers, or the way I write is, the character does have aspects of me in the character, because I'd like to take the driver's seat of the character especially when I'm writing it, and kind of feel out like what they must be going through. And that really goes into the idea of when I sat down with James to play the character of Bruce, because James is a veteran. We both served in 10th Mountain Division together, or not at the same time, but we were both in the same division, which I think gave us a lot of similarities and understandings of where we come from. And so not only having the Army as a foundation, but having been stationed in the same place, having similar experiences was important. And he was able to pick up on things written into Bruce's character that honestly only veterans can really, I think, understand. And the character has to be played from that point. The story has to be told from that point in this particular case, because Bruce is dealing with separating from the Army. And that's a topic that I personally don't feel is covered well in cinema, and I don't feel is given the right respect, because it's not
a pretty subject generally.
no, I feel like most of the time, sometimes when you're talking about a veteran separating, it's like either a pity party, even if the filmmaker's not trying to make it into a pity party, and it's also just maybe saying like, oh, everything should be bad or everything is bad. Yeah, I think everyone makes bad decisions and good decisions, but I think like Bruce is trying to find a place to be. I think that's how a lot of veterans feel. At least that's how I felt when I separated from the service. Of how do I come back into society? What is my place in society? How do I fit in? I kind of want to just fit in and feel like I'm here like everyone else. And I think that that's a lot of things that Bruce is going through.
Do you feel like you've grown with the film in like sense of narrative, and also we'll keep on Bruce too, like, do you feel like in that character have you developed new like skills of capturing the character? How you capture certain emotions. I mean, of course, that all lends itself to the actor and how they grow with their own character, but I feel like there's a side of the director of photography that may not be told before, that how you have to grow with your actor and the character that they're playing.
Right. No, I feel like we've adapted and kind of changed our style quite a bit over the course of the production. So, as casting changes over many months, as the story develops and changes, we shrink certain things. A lot of it's down to choices when it comes to character, specifically regarding Bruce, the lead. He's he's someone that's making a lot of choices through the film. So being able to reflect, kind of his journey and his pathway through life is very much what drives the way we capture and the way we tell the story. So yeah.
I would agree.
I'm also curious on our character Maurice, and how his evolution has taken place. Because I mean,
Wow.
it's really a battle between the two of them, as you've described, a one-on-one,
Yeah.
and their relationship. So without Bruce and his conflicts, there's got to be the other half of that, and how that plays into it. Like, how was the development of Maurice's character is the more direct way of putting it.
For sure. In the original draft, the villain, Maurice's character, was named Polly. And for me, there was really this big aspect of, I think what inspired me originally was like, because I've always liked like mafioso, and then I've always also liked like street gangs. I grew up in East LA, so I through a lot of my childhood, I think a lot of street gangs were my family. They were my best friends. And I had a different perspective of that world, of connection and sticking together, and being honorable to them. The interesting thing about, so that came down to like a mafioso guy versus like a street gangster of our modern era. And I think that was like maybe this really minimalistic way of looking at it when I was younger. And then later on, as it evolved, Polly's character became Maurice's character, and in the original, the thing that I think is funny is Polly's character was also a veteran.
So it was a dual veteran kind of thing.
Yeah,
instead
it was
of, like, the
1v1.
civilian.
Yeah, they both got out and they both kind of like had opposing views, and then they went after each other. It's in some regard or the other.
I guess when did it take the turn to being a civilian?
Yeah, I changed it in later drafts, even kind of going into Duffle Bag Boy, to where Polly was like maybe like distanced from the military, wasn't a veteran anymore. They have two different ways of viewing the world. And then sitting down with Sugar Ray, I guess that's another big process I should talk about. Is casting to me is really important. I like to go and talk about the character or these ideas, and then they give me all this feedback, and I think that's how it shapes itself. And with talking with Sugar Ray about playing Maurice as the villain, he brought up all these aspects of like, I think I probably understand Bruce more than we know. And then that came right back full circle into the idea that Maurice is also a veteran, and we don't really shed light on that. That he has this experience in the military that he can hide from Bruce almost, and kind of uses it as, I know these things so I can manipulate more, which is what a villain is about. I mean, not every villain, but what this villain is about is that he's powerful. He utilizes how he speaks to people and what he chooses to share, what he knows, how he utilizes information, what he gives other characters, and
He's very calculated.
he's a very calculated character. So I think he kind of almost starts off, and Bruce is at a disadvantage. And the audience, I think, when you're watching the film, if it turns out the way we would like, you don't really know these things about Maurice up front. He's kind of this sneaky character to everyone, to Bruce and to us as an audience, as the viewers. And so I think it's really interesting how it went from two veterans to it's still two veterans, no matter how much time was in between what was originally supposed to be there till now.